you want to see revival in the Catholic Church. It's getting a
Yes.
6th grader to go home to mom and dad and say, hey, will you take me to Mass this Sunday?
Yeah.
Like, that's the type of transformation we're seeing. And
welcome back to Transfiguration's podcast. We are Catholic parish here in Oakdale, Minnesota. And just a reminder, Transfiguration exists to lead all those in the East Metro to Christ, the source and summit of our daily and eternal lives. And we have 2 guests here today that are trying to bring Christ to the rest of the world, the Archdiocese, and they helped with that this summer at Extreme Faith Camp. They are Sam and Monica, and we invited them here to talk a little bit about the organization that they're working with and what they're doing here this year and all the awesome stuff they are doing, and maybe some stories about Extreme Faith Camp this summer, how'd it go, some awesome stories. I'm sure there's tons of good stories. As you might have listened, some of our kids from Transfiguration went to camp this last year. If you haven't listened to that podcast, check it out. Some great stories from some of the kids. Some hearts really changed, and these 2 people here are some of the reasons those hearts were changed in the organization that they're working with. So I'll let them introduce themselves because, well, I've only known them for like a week in my life. So I'll let them introduce themselves.
You take your best stab at it.
Yeah, I can take a good stab, but there'll probably be some corrections and edits. So I'm let them take it away.
yeah, thanks, Justin. My name is CM Halligan, and I work with Damascus. I've been working with Damascus for the past 5 years, going on 6. And, my wife and I both work with Damascus. So we've been serving together since post-college. Right after college, went to Benedictine College for school, and then right after school, we graduated and went into the missionary program. And Damascus offers a 2-year missionary program. So my wife and I both went through the program, and then decided we loved it so much we never wanted to leave. And so after doing the 2-year missionary program, we stayed on as mission staff. So that's like our full-time staff employees, and have continued on going on our 3rd year here. So my wife and I and a few others have made the decision to move with our apostolate from Ohio to Minnesota, and just kind of answering the call to help merge Damascus and Extreme Faith Camp together.
Yeah, we're here and it's week 1. Just getting going. I'm Monica Loesel. I'm from Virginia originally, and I went to school in Kansas as well at Benedictine. Sam and I were there at the same time, but we didn't really know each other. We kind of knew of each other. Kind of funny. But I have been with Damascus since 2018. I also did the missionary program. I jumped in halfway through the year because I graduated college in the fall. And yeah, I'm just pumped to be here in Minnesota. I served with Net Ministries a couple years ago in the Chanhassen area. And so I kind of know the Twin Cities a little bit. I think I'm brave enough for the winter. But I love Damascus. I love summer camp. I've worked at Camp Watiwa, Camp Gray, a couple different camps, just kind of hopping around until I settled at Damascus. I really love it. Nice.
So what is Damascus, and what, you guys are coming from Ohio, right? Via Ohio,
sure,
through Virginia and Iowa.
Exactly.
But so what attracted you to Damascus? Maybe give a little history of who they are as a nonprofit organization. Kind of started almost exact same time, like the same summer, the summer of youth camps. I don't know what it is. There's something in the air.
Exactly.
It started right around the same time as Extreme Faith Camp did, but like 1,000 miles away.
Right.
And doing something very similar. And there's kind of this beautiful marriage that's happening.
Yep. Exactly right, Justin.
Can you give us a little bit background of Damascus, who they are, what their main mission is?
Yeah, for sure. So Damascus is an apostolate that serves, really aiming at serving the whole church, primarily the youth of our church. And we do so through, awakening, empowering, and equipping young people to live the adventure of the Catholic faith through world-class programs and an environment of encounter. And so what that really looks like...
Nice, you got that memorized.
Yeah, there we go. That's
nice.
Sounds good, right? The mission statement
it.
is up here. Our vision is to bring revival to the Catholic Church in America. And so that, as Justin said, that really started back in 2001, the same year as the foundation of Extreme Faith Camp. So it's really cool to see how God's hand has been on both apostolates, both ministries. and very much so was born out of the need of a parish. So in Columbus, in the Diocese of Columbus, there was no Catholic camp. It was really a lot of kids from the parishes going to have encounters with Jesus at non-Catholic camps. And so what one parish specifically saw was a lot of their kids were having experiences with Jesus outside the Catholic Church, and they were leaving the Catholic Church. Well, it's like, wait, whoa, we have the fullness, like we have an opportunity to have kids encounter Jesus through the Eucharist, so why don't we give them a week-long experience of high-adventure activities and show them the faith isn't boring, but it's one that's high adventure as well. And so that founded in 2001, and then just over the past 21 years, we've grown and scaled to the point where now in 2021, we just had our 21st summer of camp, and we have a permanent site. We have 500 acres of property and high ropes courses, zip lines, 30-acre lake, which I'm learning is not that big. But it's
like a pond in Minnesota.
Right.
Everyone makes fun of it.
Right. We call it Lake
Joy.
It's
awesome.
But everyone calls it Pond Joy now. So
Pond Joy.
But we served a little over 5,000 this summer in Ohio alone. And we have
5,000 kids.
5,000 kids, yeah.
Yes, and these camps are so awesome. Just thinking of, the feeding of the 5,000 happened this summer.
There you go.
No
Come on.
It was awesome.
Yeah, and it was just so cool to hear of the fruit and see, like, every week we post testimonies from the summer and just see the experiences of the kids, middle school, high school, who are having these very profound experiences with Jesus, and they're just like speaking about how they want to go home and transform their family. They want to bring mom and dad who haven't been taking them to Mass back to Mass. I'm like, you want to see revival in the Catholic Church. It's getting a sixth grader to go home to mom and dad and say, hey, will you take me to Mass this Sunday?
Yeah.
Like, that's the type of transformation we're seeing. And just to have Monica maybe share a little bit about this work with Extreme Faith Camp we've been doing over the past year.
Yeah, no, I'm glad you brought up the testimony, Sam, because that is what attracted me and kept me at Damascus, because at the end of the week, the parents would come in and all the kids would stand up and, share about their experience. And, a part of me was like, oh, that's nice. They had a great week and a really fun week of summer camp. And then through the full-time missionary program, you see the kids again, and you see them at youth groups and parishes and their schools, and they're still praying every day, and they're still living out their faith, and they're putting on worship nights, and they're talking to their friends about Jesus. And I was like, what? This is working. Like, this is effective ministry. And it just, I don't know, it's very powerful that summer camp is like the language of kids, right? And you want to speak their language and give them a positive experience of the church, which some of them haven't even had at all. I don't know. Summer camp is way more important than I think I ever give it credit for. And so that's what we're doing. We are merging Extreme Faith Camp and Catholic Youth Summer Camp. This summer, I think we were teasing. We called it EFC-CYSC at TLC because we rented from a third camp. And it's this beautiful, kind of somewhat complicated and awesome work of taking these two sister ministries and taking the best of both and merging them together to be the most effective way to serve the youth of the Diocese of St. Paul, Minneapolis. That's what we're all about here, And so this year is the first year of it. Well, I don't know if I would say that. We've been at work for a couple summers, kind of like communicating and sharing different things. But this is the first summer we were like on the ground. We had missionaries here.
Right. Yeah, it's been a lot of fun too, just to see all of that being surrendered over to the Lord over the past several years. So it actually, a conversation began back almost 3 years ago with Bishop Cousins and kind of reaching out to our directors at Damascus, Dan Demete and Aaron Richards, and just kind of facilitating this conversation of like, we're seeing what we have here in the Archdiocese of a camp that's serving the kids from our diocese, and your diocese growing and reaching those from other dioceses, and just it seemed kind of seeing the impact, and Bishop kind of asking the question of how do we get what you're doing there to happen here, and I really facilitated this conversation over the past 3 years of prayer, and then the pandemic hit and things were put on the altar, and I was like, okay, is this ever going to happen? And it was cool because last late September, actually, so almost a year ago, myself and Dan, we got together with a lot of the youth ministers from Extreme Faith Camp, and we went out and visited this site that Monica was talking about out at Trout Lake up in Pine River, Minnesota. And we went and just kind of felt it out together. Like, is God actually asking us to do this? We don't want to force his hand. We want to do what he's asking us to do. And when we were walking around the site together, there was something very evident that God was about a work of unity, that he didn't want like a bunch of isolated weeks of camp, but he wanted to bring them together and to magnify the fruit. And it was so cool because this summer was actually, the theme was Our Lady. So it was this Latin word magnificare, which is to magnify the Lord. And so I think what we saw in this first summer of unity and a vision, we ran 8 weeks of camp, And the work that Extreme Faith Camp has been around and doing for the past 21 years has been just magnified this summer. I'm really excited because we captured, different testimonies from the kids, the high schoolers and middle schoolers from the end of camp. And we've been putting them out there on YouTube and on our Facebook page and everything. And these are kids from the Archdiocese that are speaking.
Go follow their YouTube page or their Facebook page. Right. You guys have YouTube videos as well.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
Go watch them. Those testimonies are so awesome. It's one of the.
It's crazy.
It's the highlight, of everything, because like you put all this hard work in and you're working your butt off, and sometimes it's like, oh man, all these logistics are driving me crazy.
Yes.
And we just want to minister to kids and help them to realize the power of Christ in their life. And then at the end of camp, you get to witness, like you get witness too. Right. So go watch those videos. They're so awesome. And it's awesome. Like, think about that. Like 5,000 kids in Ohio. I think there was 2,500 or something here in the Twin Cities. Around there. Yeah,
I mean, it was a lot. It was I'm trying to think. There was about, I think there were 1,000 campers, and then there was 200 adults,
all the helpers and everything else. Yeah.
But
so there's over 1,000 kids that went through it this year as well. And part of the reason this connection is happening is because Extreme Faith Camp has been happening here for 20 years, but it hasn't had like an overall overarching organization. It's been youth ministers working together.
Yes.
And the nature of youth ministry too is, this person's gone this year, and then we have a new youth minister, and we're working with this person and that person. And part of the goal is, for Extreme Faith Camp was to have this powerful experience and then come back to the parish.
Yes, and
then
plug
live
into
it
the
out.
parish life.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then, but there hasn't been, like we've had camps. We've had 4 camps at Big Sandy. We have a camp at Camp Koinonia, and a camp over here, and a camp over there, and a camp over here. And there's not this unifying connection.
Yes.
And I think that was a beautiful thing for me, at least this summer, in being part of the organization and talking with Bishop Cousins for the last 3 years and saying like, yes, we really want this to happen.
Right.
We want some overarching organization, and it's only gonna make it bigger and better and awesome.
Right.
Yeah. So we're super excited.
Yes.
We want to keep going.
Amen.
So this is so tell us, give us a little bit of maybe even a run through or just kind of a 30,000 feet of what is camp. Like what, if you haven't gone to camp, a Jesus camp or like a faith camp, like, I mean, I went to like sports camps, and it was like you wake up and you eat footballs and you throw, like I went to quarterback camps, and that's like you just throw footballs all day long, and then some pro comes and talks to you about throwing footballs all day long, and it's super fun. And I think sometimes kids will get this image of like a Jesus camp, like,
how can that be fun?
Is it like going to church every day?
Yeah.
And then they watch the YouTube video and they're like, oh yeah, that looks cool.
Kind of fun.
Yeah.
Maybe.
And some of the kids, the kids that we had last week giving their testimonies, they talked about, 2 of the highlights for them were adoration, which is amazing and awesome. And that's kind of the goal of camp, is to get these kids in encounter with Christ in an intimate way. And then their second was the banana boats. Yeah. So
not surprised.
They, they have these lasting impacts, and it's the friendships too. It's not just in this encounter with Christ, but it's an encounter with Christ with others.
Yes.
And that you can grow in this relationship. So give us kind of a, your elevator pitch maybe that you already have memorized about
elevator pitch.
About the Damascus. What's their vision for camp, and why should everyone listening send their kids to camp as well?
Exactly. That's a really good question. So I've actually, Monica actually serves as our program director at Damascus. So I'm gonna.
I should have the elevator pitch memorized. Is what you're saying? Here we go.
It's a long elevator. Don't worry.
It's good. We're at 45 floors. No, the first thing that comes to mind when you ask the question is one of the mottos we kind of have at camp is high adventure faith, high adventure activities, and that's really what camp is based on. That the very base level, I would say, standard is that we want the kids who come to have a positive experience with the Catholic Church. And sometimes for some of them, this is the first time they've had that. And so it's a win if they come and they're like, there are cool Catholics who are fun and engaging and and real, and they're really, really virtuous living out their faith, right? So the first thing is to kind of get them in an environment of encounter is what we call it, but place that's safe and fun and welcoming, and they're in a group of kids who maybe they know and maybe they're meeting for the first time. And then they go through high adventure activities. So in the mornings, they're out the lake, they're blobbing their friends, they're on banana boats, they're getting thrown in the water. And in the afternoons, they're on their high adventure activities. They're doing mountain bikes and high ropes. And all day, they're being challenged to try new things and open up to new experiences. And it all leads up to, at night, we have something called club, which is kind of the encounter event. Sometimes there's adoration, there's talks, there's catechesis, there's skits and dramas. And the whole thing is geared towards saying, hey, this is real, and here's Jesus. Let's reintroduce Jesus to you in a way that maybe you've never known that he's relevant and real, just like the experiences you've been having all day. And because, using outdoor principles, because they've been open, they're trying to trust and learn that new things are okay. They're in a safe space to fail. They can be open and try this new experience with the Lord too. And the fruit is amazing because they're in a new environment and they're willing to try something new. And, they'll try to pray. They'll try to worship. They'll try to be engaged at Mass. They're so open because summer camp, the nature of summer camp is the fun opens them up and they want more of it, and it's contagious. So summer camp is a great package to deliver Jesus in, ultimately.
Right. Yeah, because one of the biggest hurdles that we and the church, as a church, have to face, and that is that young people think that Catholicism's boring.
Totally.
Right? And the truth is that Catholicism's not boring.
Yeah.
There's just a lot of boring Catholics.
And there's a lot of them.
Yeah.
There's a lot of boring Catholics. And it really just comes out of this need. And I think that's when you ask the question, Justin, of why should I consider sending my kid to camp next summer? Or why should I advocate for my grandchild to go to camp next summer? And it really is just, there's a desperate need. There is a mass exodus of youth leaving the church right now.
Yeah.
Dynamic Catholic did a study a few years back that said 5 out of every 6 young people will leave the church within 10 years of confirmation. So that is darn near 90% of young people that are receiving the sacrament of confirmation, a sacrament that is meant to give us a grace to strengthen our faith, to live the adventure of the Catholic faith. They're leaving within 10 years of confirmation. Why? It comes down to this one thing, that the 1 out of the 6 that stay because they had an encounter moment that they could point back to in their life, that I met Jesus here, or I heard his voice here, or I experienced his mercy here. And so often that's what we hear at the end of the week of camp is testimony after testimony, conversation after conversation of kids saying, I experienced Jesus's presence through the Eucharistic procession, or I experienced his mercy through the forgiveness of sins during confession. And just being able to have and to see the tangible fruit of that's a kid whose trajectory of his life has been forever changed because he's not leaving the church in 10 years.
Yeah.
He's had that moment of encounter that's going to set him up for a life changed,
And I would say from that, we don't leave it there because that's not enough to say, you encountered Jesus. Awesome. Go home. It's like you encountered Jesus. And then the last night is focused on, hey, you're part of the church that's on mission. The whole idea of this church is to go and make disciples of all nations. And you're part of that. So now that you've received, go out and give. Go be a missionary to your family, to your school, and it becomes very real that you're irreplaceable in this church. And we need you to step up and to be part of it. And it's like an invitation and a challenge that makes it not just a great week of summer, but hopefully a challenge and a springboard into a year of growth in the parish, plugging them in, getting them motivated. It's more than, it's a send-off. It's a launching pad.
Yeah, I have a 3.5-year-old, and I cannot wait until she can go to camp.
We can't wait to have her.
And I mean, obviously, we're going to try to give her conversion moments throughout her life. But I think one of the benefits too is it's a week-long camp, and kids are able to just kind of let their hair down and be who God created them to be. And sometimes they're just stuck in a rut of I'm who I made myself in my class or my school or my family. And sometimes it's nice to not have their family there. Obviously we're not trying to separate families. Don't dig us wrong.
Absolutely not. Yeah.
But it's nice to kind of just be able to look around and see other adults and other peers giving their life to Christ. I mean, that's kind of the high adventure is sets them up for. And they're just you know what? I can trust, because one of the parents actually said that was one of the beautiful things they saw was their own kid doing the high ropes and didn't finish. But all of the help and assistance and praise that they got for just trying allowed them to just open up to just trying something new with Jesus too.
Yeah.
Like, he came thinking, he's an 8th grader coming in like thinking, there's no way I'm doing prayer team next year. That's weird. Like, pray the whole time. Lame.
Oh, it sounds boring.
But then he has this experience at camp, and he's like, before they left, he said, I'm for sure coming back for prayer team next year. I'm definitely coming back. And I just can't wait I can't wait for my own daughter, just selfishly. But I wish, I want every parent to hear this, that this is a beautiful, life-changing thing. And I don't say that to like sell tickets to camp or something. This is legit life-changing. If someone gives their life to Christ, because your kids are going to go through troubles. They're gonna. And if they go through troubles and they know that they have a father that loves them to their core, they can get through those, and they don't have to listen to their peers saying that, oh, just quit or stop going to church. And even if they do quit for a little while, this is implanted in them that they know there's a father that really loves them. And there's a faith that is alive. It's not dead. There's a faith that's really alive, and I've seen it, and I don't have to doubt it.
Yes. I think that's huge what you're saying about it being alive. I think that shocks so many campers. They come in and they're like, you guys are excited, like hyper, like the staff is crazy. Like, who are all these people? And I remember, especially at the beginning of last summer when I was still in Ohio and we were running camp during the pandemic and we weren't sure how it was going to work. Kids come in Ohio on Sunday afternoon and we have something called opening session, and generally it's just like a silly, goofy time for them to get open and get loose and do a dance party. And it was different because we had masks on and we were in pods and everything. And at the end of the night, we kind of met and we're like, wow, the kids are not as open. They're like a little bit more like reserved, like what's going on? And after the day on Monday, they did their high adventure activities, their lake time. And then after club on Monday, we met again and we're like, they're starting to open up and they're starting to like it's a little different this summer. And by the end of the week, the kids were saying, this is, out of all the years I've come to camp, this is the best year, even though we can't do everything we used to be able to do. But the community that they had been not seeing, the way that they had been isolated, when coming back into seeing something so alive and contagious, and it took a little bit longer. They're like, oh my gosh, this is so different, and took them a moment to adjust. But by the end, they were like, we needed this more than we ever had. And so I think that idea that this church is alive and it's my age and it's there's a place for me in it.
It's not just a church for old people.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
All right.
Yeah, come on.
So camp is incredibly awesome, but you guys, this is summer's over, guys.
What?
You guys aren't going home. What's going on?
I know.
You're right. Yeah.
So you guys are here. So camp is like this launching pad. It's not like a shot in the arm. It's not like, okay, every summer I get a little shot in the arm and a little Jesus booster. No. Camp is a launching pad into the rest of your life, into mission, like you already said. And you guys are here all year. There's 5 of you, correct?
Yep, there's 5 of us.
Including the 1-year-old.
Yeah.
Oh.
Is that including?
No, sorry. There's 6 of us.
There's
including
6.
The 1-year-old. There's 5. There's a 5 full-time employee team.
Sorry.
He's on mission as well. He's just not getting paid yet.
Right.
Yeah,
that's right.
So Sam's family is on mission together. He's got a little 1-year-old, 1 in a month now.
1 in a month. Yep.
So he's on fire already. He's going.
Yeah.
He's ready to crush it.
He is.
Can't wait for him to go to camp.
Going to be a good speaker.
10
He's
years
very
or
nice
whatever.
and vocal.
Yeah.
But you guys are here for the rest of the year. So what is that going to look like? What's the thought behind it? And how can we get you here more often?
Yeah. So as you said, Justin, camp is the purpose of camp is to be a launching pad right into the further up and further that God has for these kids, that he wants more of a relationship. He wants to communicate with them regularly. He wants them to go to mass. And the way that happens so beautifully here in Minnesota is through going back into the parish and having people that accompany them at camp back into the parish. So youth ministers, volunteers, whoever, they're experiencing that coming back here. So our mission this year is to really come alongside the parish volunteers, to come alongside the youth ministers, to co-labor with them, with the kids that have been at camp this summer. So our goals this summer, or this year, are really to to build and to foster relationships with parishes, with priests, with youth ministers, to be an advocate and a support for the archdiocese within the parish structure. We want to get more kids to come to camp. We're hoping to really expand our capacity to invite kids into camp next summer. And so we want to expand the numbers already in pre-existing parishes and also invite new parishes into camp. And then we're really just here to serve. And so something we've been saying is we want to just like come to whatever's happening at the parish. So any events or youth group nights or whatever, we want to just be a presence, get to know people. We really want to be missionaries in the true sense of the word. Mother Teresa, Saint Mother Teresa, I love it. It's one of her stories of when she's not from India, right? She was an Eastern European small woman. But when she was asked at the later portion of her life where she's from or who she is, she would say, I am Indian. Because she had taken on the culture in such a way that she didn't see herself as some outsider coming in. It was just, she had totally enculturated the gospel through her life. And so we are just hoping, we're Minnesotans. Like, I'm from Iowa. I lived in Ohio, but now I'm a Minnesotan. And so I'm hoping to really, us as a 5-person team, really want to dive into this culture, to embrace it, and to really dive wholeheartedly into the archdiocese. Yeah.
And to add on to that, just a story I was thinking of, the reason I wanted to come to Minnesota in the first place, to become Minnesotan, as you say, and I love that, Sam. I remember it was a couple months after Sam had been up here. I was here in November with my traveling team last year, and we had a meeting with all the youth ministers. Well, many, I suppose. I don't know if you were there. Is it St. Charles Borromeo last year? All the people involved in camp. And we were in a room of 45 people. And we were just telling them, hey, this is what's going to happen. We're going to be merging EFC and CYIC together this summer. It's going to be a little different at a different location. And I had no involvement with this at this point, right? Like, I didn't know what my summer was going to look like. And I just saw a room of people who were asking a bunch of questions, very passionate that their kids would have a great experience because it was so important to them to get camp in the right place, to be able to get their ministry started, to be able to really minister effectively and make disciples of their kids, right? And I was like, these youth ministers, I mean, that's something we are growing in Ohio, the relationship with the parishes and making sure we're really equipping the kids to go back into the parish as well, right? Because we always want to be connecting the kids back to their parishes, back to their families, back to their schools. And so I was like, oh my gosh, this is happening here. Like, the youth ministers are in it and invested, and they want to be using Camp Effect. This is awesome. And I called Dan Demete right after that. I was like, can I please go to Minnesota? Like, I want to learn from this group of people and these youth ministers doing this. And obviously this summer we've gotten to know people a little better. And so it's fun. It's like, I hope we get to visit a bunch of different parishes and see what, there's 189, the bishop said the other night. I hope we get to see them all in some way. And just grow, expand, kind of take the opportunities that are in front of us.
Yeah, it's been a great witness. I love coming to camp, and if it wasn't part of my job, I'd take vacation to come to camp and help lead. I just loved it. This summer was awesome. I helped lead the prayer team, and he crushed it. No, it was we tried. The Lord was outstanding in his blessings and his graces, like he always is. And camp is just such a blessing. For myself, it's like a springboard for the year as well. And you guys are very inspiring because, you're giving it up and you're missionaries. And it is inspiring to hear you say you're Minnesotans, because I think you get that sense, and in St. Mother Teresa would say the same thing, because you love the people. And when you love Christ so much, you love his people. And they become your legit, like... I heard as a kid, my brothers and sisters, and we kind of just say it sometimes. Sure. And when you fall in love with Christ, like, they're your legit brothers and sisters that you really love, and you want them to have the same joy. Yeah. Like, that's one of the beautiful parts, I think, of seeing the Damascus team. And I don't know if you guys, if it's mandated or something. I know Mother Teresa's sisters, you have to have joy. Yeah. Like, that is a requirement. You cannot be a missionary of charity, a missionary of love, for goodness sakes, right, if you don't have a joyful heart. And that was one of the witnesses, at least for me this summer, and one of the beautiful things, and why I'm so excited about you 5 being here this summer, is you're joyful because you love Christ. Like, it gives life to everything you do. It's like easier to brush your teeth in the morning because you're giving your life to Christ.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yep.
this is great. This is my path, and I love these people because they're my real legit brothers and sisters. I want them to get to heaven. I want to party with them in heaven.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's like the Simpsons Catholic, the Catholic heaven, right?
Catholic
the party,
heaven. Yes.
the party in heaven. That's like what camp is. If you guys are thinking about what camp is, yeah. Maybe that's a good image. You guys should use that sometime.
There we go. Maybe we'll put it in the repertoire.
Yes.
Play the little video from
The
like
video.
the Simpsons.
We'll do the
Catholic
montage
heaven.
of Doom, but we'll have that as the first clip.
Yeah.
It's good. Mm-hmm.
Don't play the Protestant one though. I'm sure there's some Protestants that might take offense to that.
You're right.
That's okay. So what are some of you guys have some concrete plans this year, and you want to get into parishes, you want to talk to youth ministers. Are you going to be like putting on retreats or helping out with some of that stuff? Are there winter things that kids can get involved with? How can everyone else kind of get to know a little bit more of Damascus and what they're doing? And some of you guys, how can maybe the listener or whatever else learn more about you and get to be involved with what you're doing?
Yeah, for sure. And I would say to our listeners, people on podcast
On
stages
the other side of
right now,
this.
yes. If you want to learn more about Damascus or some of the programs, things that we offer, you can check out damascus.net. You can get a hold of Monica or myself. We're going to be really spearheading a lot of the connections and the relational pieces throughout the Archdiocese this year. My email is very simple. It's Sam, so SAM, @damascus.net.
Yes, yours is a lot easier if we
Right.
might want to just, because mine's got my last name.
Yeah, maybe we just do Sam. So feel free to email me if there's anything you want to get connected with, whether you just want to grab a cup of coffee, get to know each other. We are all
Me
about
too.
getting to know people.
I
And I'll
love
bring
coffee.
Monica along.
Good.
You can CC to Monica. I'll forward it to her.
Perfect.
We'll put you guys' website and
Yes,
stuff in the
in the show
That's great.
description.
I was going to say,
Yeah.
we don't have
Wonderful.
anything huge on the calendar yet, but we have hopes, and, it's just a matter of connecting, and it is still week 1 for us.
Right.
So
Yep.
hopefully we'll have updates and news and events and things to sign up for in the coming weeks here.
Right.
Keep your eyes out.
Yeah, we're going to be, I believe we're going to be helping out with a confirmation retreat right here at Transfiguration.
Yeah,
So
we put in a
Minister.
request nice and early.
Yes.
Yay!
I told Melissa, I was like, because we were talking about our confirmation retreat, I'm like, why don't we ask Damascus to do it? Let's get in their schedule
Party
right
on.
immediately.
She was like, day one, hello, Sam, I want to talk to you. I'm like, yeah, let's do it. Let's
Come
go get
on.
some. So we went to Panera and talked about it. And we're going to probably help out with a retreat here.
That's
so.
amazing.
Yeah.
I can't wait. Okay, perfect. We'll see you
Yeah.
soon.
Yes. Any final thoughts about your year here, your mission, kind of maybe any shout outs? Maybe you want to introduce the team that's going to be here this year.
Yeah,
So
for sure.
we have 2 here.
Yep.
But there's 3 more plus 1.
Right.
Yep.
Yep. So myself, Sam Halligan, serving as the Minnesota camp director.
Monica Loesel, the program director.
Yep. And then along with us, we have my wife, Whitney Halligan. So Whitney she serves as kind of our formation coordinator for Damascus. So she's going to be doing some work remotely for our Ohio site, but then also she's going to be doing a lot with guest experience and preparation for registration for summer 2022 for camp here in Minnesota. So she's going to be in contact with a lot of the parishes, planning registration.
And then Mary Sarah Menkhaus. She's from Cleveland, Ohio.
Oh, she's the best.
She's amazing.
She helped with prayer team.
Yes.
I helped with prayer team. She did
No,
the prayer team.
she
She's the
loved
best.
working
She was
with
awesome.
you guys.
Yes.
So she's actually the national team director. She lives here in Minnesota. She's on the team, but her primary focus also this year will be our 7-man national team that's across the country this year.
Yep. They're traveling to different spots.
Yep.
Promoting camp. It's awesome. And then our 5th person is Brett Sutton. So Brett is actually
Brett Sutton.
Yes.
Yeah.
Get out of here.
Yeah.
He hired me here at Transfiguration.
How wonderful.
He was a business
Good choice.
administrator. I was in a small group with him for community for CCR.
You're kidding
And
us.
I was telling him that I wasn't super happy at my job, and he's a close talker too.
Yeah.
And it was like it was January. End of January, we're outside for like 40 minutes.
Oh my gosh,
He's
yes,
like,
yes.
You need to send me your application tomorrow. Like, send me your resume.
ASAP. Right
Yeah.
now. He's very, yeah.
That is hilarious.
so
I love
fun.
it.
Yes, and we love Brett so much, and it's great too because he's not a native Minnesotan, so he's
Right.
from he's not from Minnesota, he's from somewhere.
I don't know
wife's
where
from
he's
Jersey.
from.
His wife's
from
He's-
Jersey.
Yeah.
I don't remember where Brett's from.
I want to say he's from New York, but maybe I'm wrong.
No, I'm trying to. Indiana or something. I don't know.
Some close talker state.
Oh yeah, we'll have to
So,
he'll have to listen to this and correct us.
But yeah, Brett serves as our advancement director here in Minnesota. So if you know any millionaires, get in touch with Brett so we can build a camp here in the state. That would be awesome.
Or pray
Amen.
to Padre Pio.
Yeah.
Padre Pio is, he was starting that hospital in Pietrelcina, and he asked a doctor to be his chief of medicine. The doctor said, "No, I have like $50,000 in medical bills. I still have to, not medical bills, but like education I still have to pay for." And he said, "Okay, cool. Go home, buy a lottery ticket, pay it off, and come back."
What?
Whoa.
You're
So
kidding
I don't know
me?
if this is like
Padre
true,
Pio.
but this is, lore. There's lots of lore and legend of
Yeah.
Padre Pio. So he went home, bought a lottery ticket, won enough money to pay it off, and
You're kidding
came
me.
back to be his
You
chief
are
of medicine.
kidding me.
So the lesson is we all need
So
to go
Padre
buy
Pio.
lottery tickets after
Padre
that.
Let's
Pio.
go.
Just pray to Padre Pio. He's my patron saint of like weird and wacky stuff. Like if I need a green light or something.
Yes, Padre Pio, please.
Lot-
Well, I
lottery.
remember Blessed Andre Bessette. I don't know if you know the story, but he was trying to build a cathedral somewhere in Canada, and he literally put a St. Joseph statue outside. They ran out of lumber. He put it out there, no roof, and he said, "If you want a roof, build it yourself." And then St. Joseph, I guess, provided him some lumber, and he built it. And he was like, "There you go." I remember Sam a while ago. I don't know if this story will make the cut, but wanting to buy a house, and you took a little St. Joseph statue, and you wanted to put it in the yard of the house that you wanted to buy. And I remember you saying the homeowner
That's like
walked
the
out, so
opposite
you
of
just
your-
threw
Right,
the
right.
statue
So
and ran.
They had some big dogs. They had some big dogs
he was
in this
like,
yard.
"Oh,
and so
shoot."
So I did a drive-by and just threw St. Joseph in the yard.
Which I think is a little
probably illegal.
sacrilegious.
Yeah, I
Nice.
don't know if it's sacrilegious.
Sacrilegious,
Joseph's welcome everywhere.
superstitious.
We're definitely keeping that on.
Yeah, please.
Yes. Any stories from this summer at camp you want to share with the listener as well?
Yeah.
Maybe personal stories, other witnesses, miracles, whatnot.
Yeah, there's one fun story that I like to share a lot because oftentimes when we talk about camp, we talk about the impact we shared the stories of our campers. But this story was not actually a story of one of our campers. This is the story of one of the Trout Lake staff members.
Oh my goodness.
So
we'll give it a little backstory.
Yeah,
so
yes.
we're renting from a
Right,
Baptist
so
camp.
Baptist camp, a lot of non-Catholics working at this camp, which is so funny because we're doing Eucharistic processions around their campsite. So many of them are like, "What is that?" And you just so many opportunities to
Yeah.
just catechize and to evangelize.
And I remember a lot of them at the beginning saying, "Are Catholics this fun? Are all Catholics like this?" Like they just
Right.
didn't have
They
the
never had
greatest
any-
connotation of us,
right.
you know?
Exactly. No perception. So we gave them a really, I think all
Wild
the parishes
ride.
and all the missionaries gave them a really high standard of what Catholicism is. So,
Yeah.
but midway through the summer, there was this one of the people from the parish actually met one of the staff members who was working down as a lifeguard. They were having a conversation, and that person invited this kid to come to our night of Eucharistic adoration. So he had never been to adoration before, never experienced anything like it. Comes in the room, sees Jesus exposed in the monstrance, and the person who invited him was like, "You can go up there and get blessed by Jesus if you'd like." And he was like, "Okay." So he went up there, knelt down, gets personal benediction, comes back, and is just like jaw dropped and was like, "I think that changed my life."
Yeah, he tells one of our staff members, "I think that just changed my life." And the staff member said, "Do you know what that is?" And he said, "Nope."
Nope. So the next day, I go talk to the kid. We go through John chapter 6
Right,
together, talking about how
right.
Jesus says, "This is my body, this is my blood, true
Right.
food, true drink." And so
But
it's just cool.
seriously,
Yeah,
yeah.
very much like just a lot of openness, a lot of seekers. I think one of the biggest fruits of the summer was how, I think, sometimes when we think about evangelization, it's like, anytime we make someone less anti-Catholic, we make them more Catholic, right? We make them more open to Catholicism. And so there were so many non-Catholics this summer that, didn't come to believe in the true presence like in one day, but
Yeah.
they're more open. They've had positive experiences with the Catholic Church. So that was one of my favorite moments of the summer, was just seeing these non-Catholics working at Trout and having positive experiences with the church.
Yeah. Gosh. Yeah, it's hard to narrow down. It's like, do you talk about the campers or the staff or whatever, the high schoolers? One of my favorite stories probably is from high school week. So high school week filled up this summer. And at the beginning of the summer, it was not full. We had about 80 spots, and we're like, might just be a small week. Okay. And then throughout this summer, it was like, okay, we're full and have a waiting list, which was a great problem to have. And we were just trying to cram in more kids, trying to get more beds and stuff. And high school week obviously is a little different than middle school week in terms of middle schoolers are a little bit more prone to say, "That's awesome." Even if, it's a little lame, they're like, "I'll just get behind anything." So our our club environment, I think this was at club, not opening session, at club at night. It's high adventure. It's crazy. You're jumping, you're dancing. You're being a little ridiculous,
think
right?
Right.
Like
club.
Oh, it's dark. There's like
Get the emotions
lights
going.
show going. Mm-hmm. And so naturally the missionaries are running up and down the aisles screaming and trying to get people engaged. And the high schoolers are not really into it. They're like, yep, I'm a little self-conscious and not going to do that quite yet. And especially this one group of guys in the back, their counselor, I remember looking at him. He was so sweet. He was doing his thing. He was dancing. And the guys were just like looking at him like, you're crazy. And I'm not doing that. And so we took note. I took note. Program director here at that cabin needs to sit in the front next time. I'm going to assign seats to make sure they get in the front. And I got them in the front row, and I thought, okay, maybe they'll be a little bit more engaged. And our MC for the week, her name is Mary Beth. She's a very small little girl, very amazing. I love her a lot, big stage presence. And she needed a volunteer from the crowd to come up on stage and just to start the skit and say, like, let's get it started with some lights, camera, action, right? Very simple ask. And she boldly just grabbed the big, tall guy, athlete from the front row. And she's like, come up here. And he's like, what? I don't want to come up there. And she's like, get up here right now. And everyone's watching him. So he's like, okay. And he gets up front. She goes, I need you to say, let's get it started with some lights, camera, action. And she leaves the stage. He's alone on stage. And he's like, let's get it. And then he gets into it. He like does it lame the first time. And the crowd's kind of like, no.
Do it again.
Right. The missionaries were all like, do it again. And then he kind of like shifts and gets into it. And he's like, all right. Like claps his hands. He's like, let's get it started with some. And it looked like he felt like $1 million. He was like up in front of the room. People were like cheering for him. And the whole small group, his friend group, right? The cool, tough guys who didn't want to really necessarily dance, they were all into it. They were like, this is awesome. And from then on, I'm sure there might have been more rough patches, but from then on, they were engaged and they were like dancing around. I was like,
right.
All it took was Mary Beth to be like, get up here, like, and to kind of get him a little bit loose. And that's, again, illustrates the whole mentality of, because of little fun, silly something, nonsense moment like that, now maybe later he'll be open to the Eucharist, right? Because that's the point. So
nice. Sometimes you got to just like fake it till you make it.
Right, a little bit of
like, okay,
knocking on the door.
I'm just going to put myself out there and...
Well, I always tell the program
whatever.
staff, if you're the weirdest one in the room, then they don't have to be. So like you get weirder and then they'll get more comfy.
And they also know like no one's looking at you and thinking anything weird, you know? I mean, that's part of the sacredness of camp is that, you know, and I hate using this word, but it's like it's a safe place to put yourself out there because you're going to be built up. You know, they rightly have a hesitancy in their public school to put themselves out there of loving Jesus because they're going to get ridicule.
Yeah.
And camp is not, you know, it's a sacred place to be able to say, I'm going to give my life and you're going to be fully supported.
Yeah.
And then you can come back to your parish and be fully supported. And some of those, you know, like I've always been thinking about like, we need to do like extreme faith camp for adults. Because I, you know, like I get so much out of it every summer, but you know, like I need to be able to get out of that mode too, because even with my church friends or whatever else you want to call it, I'm still trying to put on a face sometimes, you know, I'm still trying to look like I got my stuff together and I'm just like falling apart sometimes. And you need real brothers. I need real brothers to, you know, build me up when I want to make myself vulnerable. And I have that here at the parish and I love it. But not everyone does, you know, and especially teenagers, and they're looking around and I mean, they're judging because we're all, you know, like it's just so easy to judge and you're thinking like everyone's looking at me. And I tell the kids at camp, like, no one cares. Like, just be crazy. Just be yourself. And you're only going to get built up. Like it's just a beautiful thing. So thank you guys so much for sharing. Any shout outs to family, friends, anyone who might be listening to this, you can send it to them, text it to them, say, hey, listen, I gave you a little shout out.
Oh, that's so fun. I want to shout out to Bree and Michaela, two of the EFC leads. Well, I should shout out to all of them. Bree, Michaela, Debbie, John, Andrew, Chris. Sorry, Chris.
Whoa, she got them all memorized.
Best for last, Chris. Sorry.
There we go. Yeah. Let's give a shout out to, let's see,
And my mom. Sorry.
Cool.
My mom.
All right. Shout out to my wife, Whitney.
That's good.
To baby Judah. To my mom, if you're out there. Shout out to Bishop Cousins. My main man.
Shout out to Blake Lively if she listens to this podcast.
Shout out to Captain America, my favorite.
Probably. Just text him. Don't listen.
Captain Steve Rogers.
Tweet it at him.
Tweet it at him.
Yes.
That's so fun. And Mary Sarah, who's not here. Whitney, Mary Sarah, and Brett.
Yes.
So.
Yeah.
It's been so fun. Gosh, thanks for having us.
Thank you so much, Justin.
Thanks for coming in. Thanks for sharing your hearts and your mission. And thank you for saying yes. Thank you for, I mean, it isn't easy to work for the church, working for the church or working for a mission. It's not, some you say like it's not easy. Oh, we don't get paid, whatever. But no one, honestly, I've never met anyone that really cares about that, because like I'd be cool with pennies if I could provide for my family and give my life to Christ. So, but it's still not easy. And thanks for saying yes. And this is a beautiful thing. I cannot wait to see what the Lord has for this unity here in the Archdiocese. It's going to explode. I have full confidence, and because of the people that are here, and also just because of all the support you guys are going to have. So check out their website, check out their Facebook stuff, like it, share it. They're doing awesome stuff here in the Twin Cities. Yeah. And remember, here at Transfiguration, we are here, we exist to bring all those in the East Metro to Christ, the source and summit of our daily and eternal lives. God bless. Sweet.
Yay.
Thanks, Justin. That was fun.
That was fun. It's just like a loud conversation.